Hi everyone, welcome back to The Mostly True Adventures of Homer P. Figg by Rodman Philbrick. Today we're on chapter 22, The Secret in the Wagons. If you remember, last time we left Homer in New York City. He's been rescued from the pig crate by Professor Fleabottom, the owner of a traveling medicine show. Professor Fleabottom lets me ride next to him, high up in the driver's seat as the horses plod through the crowded streets looking for the ferry terminal. Never have I seen so many people in one place, all trying to get somewhere at the same time. Folks of all colors, white and black and mixed, and a bunch that looked like the Chinese Indians and others I'd never seen before. Men in fine suits and tall hats, and ladies with parasols and gloves, and men in rags, and poor hunched up old women begging as they shuffle along. All in a hurry. Makes me feel a little out of breath to think that if one more human being sets foot on this end of Manhattan Island, it may tip over like a dinner plate and slip into the sea. Professor Fleabottom says there's more people in this city than in the entire state of Maine, all jammed together with 100,000 horses, and more goats, dogs, cats, cows, and chickens than can be counted, all breathing the same smoky air and drinking the same water. The horses, he says, are a special kind of problem. Multiply 100,000 horses by 20 pounds of manure each day per horse, and what do you get? A big stink? On the nose, he says, delighted. 2,000 tons of odoriferous delight. All of which makes me long for the fragrance of New Jersey. What's New Jersey smell like? Grass and dirt, mostly, once we get past the swampy part. But first we must cross the river. Every now and then he looks behind, as if worried about being followed. I check too. But there's so many people, there's no way to know who might be following us or who might just be going in the same direction. Wagons scrape by, heading the opposite way, and the big men driving the wagons crack their whips and shout abuse and make rude gestures. Professor Fleabottom smiles and waves and tells Minerva to stay out of sight inside the wagon in case her tattoos might stop traffic altogether. Just drive, Fenton. I can take care of myself, as well you know, she says, looking around. Seems like even though she made fun of him for mentioning spies, she's keeping an eye out too. As for me, I'm straining to catch a glimpse of the two men driving the last two wagons in our little caravan. From what I can see, as we jounce over the cobblestones, they both look pretty normal. Just regular men with beards and floppy hats that hide their eyes. Sit down and quit messing about, Professor Fleabottom says. You'll scare the horses. What's in those wagons? I want to know. The way Fleabottom and Minerva are acting, there might be something hidden in the wagons. Something way more exciting than a boy who pretends to be a pig. Ah, Fleabottom says, his eyes glinting with humor. You guessed, did you? Well, I guess there was something, but I don't know what exactly. Patience, young man. You will know all of our secrets by this evening, but not until then. No matter how much I beg, he won't tell me the secret in the wagons. Finally, I decide to shut up and bide my chance. The ferry terminal is near as crowded as the streets, with a mob waiting impatiently to get across the Hudson River. Some are on foot, others in carriages and wagons. The ferries leave on the quarter hour, regular as clockwork. They have flat decks so that you can drive straight aboard, and big steam-driven paddles on either side. At the sound of a steam whistle, the gate opens and a man shouts, "All aboard!" 10 minutes later, wagons and horses and all were bound for Jersey City. The river is thick with ferry boats and steamships and sailboats of every size. Looks like the whole world is on the move crossing that water. Behind us, the island of Manhattan starts to fade away until it looks like it's made of fog and sticks. The puffs of gray smoke tooting out of the ferryboat smokestack reminds me of Uncle Squint's clay pipe. Makes me wonder if he misses us. Most likely he misses all the work we did. Strange as it may seem, I sort of miss the farm. The barn that was our home, and Bob the horse, and Bess and Floss the milk cows. Can't say as I miss Squint himself in particular. No surprise there. The real surprise is waiting on the dock in New Jersey, standing tall in his new blue uniform. My brother Harold, big as life. Chapter 23 is called The Sound of Guns. Soon as the ferry bumps the pier, I'm off and running, thinking, this surely is my lucky day. My adventures have barely begun, and already I've found my big brother. It does seem awfully early in the book for him to have found his brother. Does that mean anything to you? My adventures have barely begun, and already I've found my big brother. It wasn't so bad, just an abduction or two, and being robbed and thrown in with the pigs, and joining the caravan of miracles, and being boiled by Indians. Already, I'm improving the story in my mind with the purpose of making Harold laugh. He don't laugh that much, being a serious-minded person, but when he does, it feels like someone gave you a silver dollar, because it's bright and shiny and rings true. I come all this way just to hear it. Harold, it's me, Homer! I fight my way through a sea of young men in new uniforms. Dark blue 4-button coats and sky blue trousers and forage caps, and each man with a black canvas haversack to carry his food. Most of the Union Army seems to be milling about, waiting for trains to take them south. It's like a blue wool forest that smells of sweat and boot polish. That's cool. Figure if I can get to Harold before he gets on a war train, we can fix it so we don't have to go. We being me and Professor Fleabottom, since he knows men in the army and can maybe help us. Harold! At last he turns to my voice. Up close, the face is wrong. My stomach flip-flops something awful, and I nearly trip and fall because it ain't Harold. It's another boy who could be him on account of his size and the way he stands. You're not Harold, I say, stopping to catch my breath. Private Thomas Finch, 15th Massachusetts, he says, his voice cracking. Sorry, looking for my brother, Harold Figg, of Pine Swamp, Maine. Private Finch shakes his head. I believe the Maine regiments that mustered here have gone ahead. Your brother may be among them. Okay, I pant, blinking the sweat from my eyes. Thanks. And when he mentions sweat in his eyes, I'm trying to imagine how he feels, and knowing what I know about Homer and how honest he is with us, I'm wondering if that's really sweat in his eyes. I'm about to go find Professor Fleabottom and the wagons when I'm struck by inspiration. Private Finch, I say, turning back to tug at his stiff woolen sleeve. If you happen to come across Harold Figg of Pine Swamp, Maine, would you please tell him to get on home? His little brother Homer is dying. Will you tell him that? If I meet him, certainly, says Private Finch. But it is a big war. How will I know him? Well, he looks a lot like you, except Harold is slightly taller and stronger and better looking. Oh, is that a fact? Says Private Finch with a toothy grin. I'll see what I can do, Homer. You are Homer Figg, right? I shrug. Maybe I am. Well, I must say, my young friend, that you look remarkably healthy for a boy who is dying. Never mind that. Will you tell him? Of course. After glancing around and grinning to himself, he snaps me a fine salute. Thank you, Homer Figg. I am reminded to write a letter to my own dear little brother, who is slightly taller and stronger and better looking than you, and who would no doubt fake his own death to have me safe at home. He melts away into the blue wool forest. I really like Private Finch. A moment later, the tattooed lady has me by the collar. She's puffing like I am from fighting her way through the crowd. I thought we'd lost you, boy. She tips up my chin, looks me in the eye. What's this? Have you been crying? There's our confirmation. I shake my head, and she knows enough to say no more. That evening, the Caravan of Miracles puts on the first show since I joined the company. We're 10 hard miles from the terminal in Jersey City in low, weedy country not far from the sea, and come upon an army encampment. Must be 100 white canvas tents set up in the tall grass, and the sound of rolling gunfire and shouting men just over the horizon. Is there a battle? I want to know, standing up in my seat to see better. Is this the war? Oh, the war is still some great distance away, Professor Fleabottom explains. These are new recruits, training to fight. We set up our wagons in a little area surrounded by sandy bluffs, which he says is to keep us from the wind, but which also means we're hard to see if you don't know where to look. A medicine show is not always welcomed by the generals, he tells me. They think it distracts from the business of war. Whereas we believe that these young men deserve a bit of fun at the end of a long, hard day. Thus we strive to entertain, but with the utmost discretion. While we unload gear and get ready for the show, the two men who drive the other wagons approach the army camp on foot, and they let their recruits know where we are and what might be expected of us. Me and Minerva are in charge of setting out the lamps and torches for when it gets dark and putting up the banners and flags. A warm wind lifts the silky banners and makes it look like the words are dancing on air. Fleabottom's Miracle Elixir, the totally tattooed lady from Cannibal Island, the talented tumbling Barillo brothers, the amazing Pig Boy. The really amazing thing is, I can't wait to see the show. And I'm in it.